Hello, good evening, teachers. Am I audible, ma'am? Am I audible, ma'am? Okay, am I audible? Now I'm sharing my screen. Just tell me, please, it is visible or not. Screen share.
स्क्रीन शेयर किया हुआ है उसमें
Have to click OK.
वो हम लोग रिप्लाई नहीं पाते हम लोग को प्लीज गिव एन थम्स साइन और यस साइन
Please give me thumb sign if I am audible. Okay, fine, fine. Now I am sharing my screen. Is it clear? Slideshow, resume slideshow. Next day. Full screen. You have to cross this one. Yes, now it's okay. Am I audible, teachers? So let's start our session. So let's start our session in a chat box. First of all, fine good evening, all the dignified and the respected teachers present over here. So the topic for today's session is active chat box. Please type teachers why is needed, why the active learning is needed nowadays, why we have to make our learning active. Please write in a chat box. Yes, now the chat box is okay. Am I audible? My screen is visible, teachers? Yes. Yes. Yes, why the active learning is needed today in nowadays teaching? Because active learning, according to the need of the students, we have to get it involved to them. We have to make our teaching more interesting. For that reason, we have to make our teaching active. So, let's see the first. Our first slide is, that is, according to Bonewell and Eastern State, that student must do more. That students must do more than just listen. They must read, write, discuss, or be engaged in solving problems. Most important, to be actively involved, students must engage in much higher order thinking tasks as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Within this context, it is proposed that strategies promoting active learning be defined as instructional activities involving students in doing things and thinking about what they are doing. So, coming to the next slide, that is, according to Dale Carnegie, learning is an active process. It is an active process. We learn by doing. Now the learning process has been changed. We have to involve all the students and make their active involvement in the topic, whatever we are teaching. That is, for that reason only, we have to make the teaching learning active so that most of the students be involved in that. So, according to Dale Carnegie, learning is an active process. We learn by doing. Only knowledge that is used sticks in your mind. Then, learning is more effective when it is an active rather than a passive process. So, what is active learning? Now, let's see. The term active learning has been more understood intuitively than defined in commonly accepted terms. As a result, many educators say that all learning is active. Are not students actively involved while listening to lectures or presentations in the classroom? Research, however, suggests that students must do more than just listen. So, students, they must read, write, discuss, or be engaged in solving problems. Further, student must be engaged in such higher order thinking tasks as analysis, synthesis, and evaluation to be actively involved. Thus, strategies promoting activities that involve students in doing things and thinking about what they are doing may be called active learning. Now, when the term active learning comes to our mind, how to make our teaching active and get the students all involved into it? For that, active learning is involving students directly and actively in the learning process itself. This means that instead of simply receiving information verbally and visually, students are receiving, participating, and doing. Thus, active learning is important. How to engage the students in our teaching learning process? We have to engage the students. Engaging students in doing something other than listening to a lecture and taking notes. We have to, students may be involved in talking and listening to one another, or writing, reading, and reflecting individually or in small groups. So here we will see comparison between an active learning and passive learning. What passive learning is? See the picture, you can see I am teaching. The one, only one process is going on. Here we are only teaching and the students, they are not responding. They are simply passive. They are not responding it in a active way to our teaching. That is passive learning. First point we will see over here is reception. Passive learning is more about receiving information. The children are only receiving information and they are not reacting to that topic in a proper way without actively engaging with it. This often involves activities like listening to lectures, reading texts or watching videos without much interaction. Means when the teacher is teaching, the child is not getting interacted to it. Only one side process is going on. Then what happens? Then limited interaction. When the passive learning goes on, one sided teaching, only the teachers are teaching and the students are not involving to that topic. So the interaction becomes very limited. Limited interaction, learners might not engage in discussions or ask questions. They are only listening to the topic, but they are not discussing, or they are not asking any questions towards the topic. Only one sided process is going on. They primarily absorb information provided by instructions or materials. Now we can see the surface learning. In this process, this approach can sometimes lead to surface level understanding, where learners might memorize facts without deeply comprehending or applying the material. Chat box में देखने के लिए तो chat box
minimize करो.
minimize. Then minimal application like this it will be. Please, teachers, if any queries and all are there, you can write it in a chat box. Am I audible? Okay, fine. Okay, ma'am. Okay, teachers, thank you so much. In a chat box, you can, if any queries is there. Okay, coming to the next point, that is minimal application. Let it be there. Minimal application. There's typically less emphasis on applying knowledge in practical contexts or reflecting on its use, leading to more theoretical or abstract grasp of the content. Now, what happens for the observation? Passive learners often observe or listen rather than participate actively. One sided teaching learning process is only going on. The learning process is more about consumption of content than engagement with it. So see, passive learning, see, in contrast to that, we will see the active learning. In active learning, what it happens, you can see the picture also. Children are taking an active part while the teacher is teaching. Engagement. First of all, a very important point, that is engagement. Engagement of student is needed in the active learning process. That is, active learning involves actively participating in the learning process. Learners are engaged through activities such as discussions, problem solving, and hands on experiences. Then, after engagement, critical thinking comes. Learners, what they do? They analyze the topic, they question for the topic, and evaluate information. They directly reach to the topic, they analyze, they question, and they evaluate the information. They connect new knowledge with what they are already know and apply it to different situations. Now let's see the application, how they will apply. Active learners apply concepts in practical ways. Whatever the teaching goes on, they take the topic in a practical way. They discuss for the topic, they question it, and they make it clear and engaged in a proper way. Such as through experiments, projects, or real life scenarios. This helps to reinforce and solidify their understanding. And after the application, it reflects. What the reflection will be? Learners reflect on their experiences, their own experiences they share with the teachers and make the learning processes more interesting, assessing their progress and adapting their strategies based on feedback and self assessment. Then the interaction becomes more stronger between the teacher and the student. Relationship goes more stronger when they discuss and interact with the teacher. It often involves interaction with others, including their peer groups also. Not only with the teachers, the children interact with the peer groups and instructors through group work, discussions, and collaborative projects. Now, passive learning differences active learning. This is the picture which we have discussed about for the passive learning and active learning. Now, the characteristics we will see what happens in the active learning and what happens in the passive learning. In the characteristic involvement of students, when the question comes for the involvement of students, as we have discussed, highly involved in active learning, children are highly involved, and in passive learning they only sit and listen. One sided teaching and learning process goes on. So, focus of the learning environment. It is totally student center. When it comes for active learning, it the student centered it is. And in the passive learning, teacher centered. Now, when the role of teachers in active learning, facilitators and co-learners. And in passive learning, master of the subject matter. Now, the role of students when it comes in active learning, what they do, the students, they question, they discriminate, and be critical of the information. When we come in passive learning, the role of student receive the information. Only they receive the information without any question. Then type of thinking involved. What type of thinking involved in active learning? When in the active learning, divergent thinking. They think in a different way. Then in a passive learning, convergent thinking. Then how learning is achieved in active learning? By synthesis of information. And in passive learning, by internalization of the topic. Now the summary, we will see what is the main key differences in the active and the passive learning. The key difference is that active learning involves engagement, critical thinking, application of knowledge, while passive learning is more about only receiving and memorizing information with less interaction and application. So, active learning generally leads to deeper understanding and better retention because it involves more cognitive processes and practical application. So, why? What is the need to make our teaching learning active? What is the need in now the present scenario? So, the importance of active learning, why it is important? Active learning is crucial in modern education because it transforms the traditional teaching paradigm and significantly enhances the learning experience. Here's why it is so important. So, What the active learning, why it is important? It is important because, first of all, it engages the students in an active way, enhances engagement. Active learning requires students to participate directly in their education, which increases their engagement and motivation. When students are actively involved, they are more likely to stay focused and interested in the material. When when we will make our students engaged, then automatically the students will become active and they will be focused on the topic what is going on. It improves. Another point we can see what are the these are the importance and the advantages of active learning. So, improves understanding and retention. Engaging in activities that require ap- applying, analyzing, synthesizing information helps students better understand and retain knowledge. Active learning encourages deeper processing of information, making it more memorable. It develops critical thinking skills. We can see in the picture when the topic comes, they think in a different ways, in a different ways they will think and analyze the situation and the topic. It develops critical thinking skills. How? By participating in discussions, problem solving, and other interactive activities, students develop critical thinking and analytical skills. These activities challenge students to evaluate, reason, and make connections between concepts. Encouragement also comes with this. So, fosters collaboration and communication. A collaboration skills also develops in an active learning. How? Many active learning strategies involve group work, which helps students develop collaboration and communication skills. These skills are crucial not only in academic settings but also in a professional and social context. Encourages autonomy and responsibility. In encouraging autonomy and responsibility, how the child gets responsible towards the topic, active learning promotes students' autonomy by encouraging learners to take charge of their learning process. This responsibility helps students become more self directed and motivated to explore topics on their own. Then feedbacks comes. Feedback, when we are doing it something, then feedback is very much needed. Then the process feedbacks comes for the topic. Then provides immediate feedback. Active learning often includes opportunities for immediate feedback through peer review, discussions, and interactive assessments. This timely feedback helps students understand their strength and areas for improvement, allowing them to adjust the learning strategies accordingly. Then the seventh point is promotes practical application. Active learning often involves applying concepts to real world problems or scenarios. Our teaching get involves to the real world scenarios. This practical application helps students see the relevance of what they are learning and prepares them for real life challenges. Now caters to different learning styles. When active learning goes on, active learning incorporates various activities that can address different learning styles, that is visual, auditory, kinesthetic, etc. This inclusively ensures that all students have the opportunity to engage with the material in a way that suits their preferences. It reduces passivity. Traditional lectures can lead to passive learning, where students simply absorb information without actively engaging with it. Active learning combats this passivity by making students active participants in their own learning.
इसके बाद इसको निकलना पड़ेगा फिर
First,
मैं
we have to have
हाँ,
chat box.
मेरी
Teachers, I want to have in a chat box, please type, am I audible? All teachers, please, okay, how you make your children active in the class. I want some few answers from your side. How you make them, how you make them active, how you get involved to your topic. Please type in a chat box. In a chat box, asking questions. Yes, ma'am. Rakhi Sinha, ma'am. Nice. Then, what other things you do? Interaction by peer groups, collaboration, we can say. Activity based. Yes, ma'am. Then, taking opinion on topic. Yes, very nice. Group discussions, collaborative. Yes, with activity based. Group discussions. Very nice. Okay, role plays, yes. In while role plays, debates, very nice. Discussions, then group discussions, jokes. Sometimes jokes also works. Role play, okay. Group discussion, active learning. It gives us. We have to involve demonstration, quiz. Through quizzes also, peer work. Very nice. Okay. Yes, by playing quiz and all also, we can make the topic interesting. So then all the teacher and student relationship will get stronger. We can make by playing. Yes, very nice. We can involve the storytelling, music through music and art also. Okay. Thank you, teachers, for active participation. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
क्लिक
Okay. So,
नहीं आएगा
okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your responses. Let's come to the next point, that is builds lifelong learning skill. Yes, the skills developed through active learning, such as problem solving, critical thinking, and collaboration, are valuable beyond the classroom. They prepare students for lifelong learning and adaptability in various personal and professional contexts. It encourages reflection. Many active learning activities involve reflection on what has been learned and how it applies to other contexts. This reflection helps students consolidate their knowledge and understand its inner broader implications. Now, supports differentiated instruction. We can see the picture, they all are involved in a different way. How active learning allows for differentiated instruction by providing multiple ways for students to engage with the content. Teachers can tailor activities to meet diverse needs and learning preferences within the classroom. Now, active learning. What active learning does? Active learning shifts the focus from the teacher to the student and from delivery of subject content by teacher to active engagement with the material by the student. Through appropriate inputs from the teacher, students learn and practice how to apprehend knowledge and use them meaningfully. What are the main elements of active learning methodologies in the classroom? Active learning methodologies require that the student must find opportunities to meaningfully talk and listen. Yes, we have to give the chance to the children. What we have to give the opportunities to them meaningfully so that they can talk and listen. They have to write, read, and reflect to the content, ideas, issues, and concerns of an academic subject. Active learning methodologies encompass a variety of practices designed to engage students and enhance their learning experience. Here are some key elements of active learning in the classroom. As we did before, we have discussed, that is the main points, those are engagement of the student, collaboration, then interactive activities like role plays, case studies. One more point is case studies. Through case studies also we can make our interesting, the topic can be done in an interesting way and we can engage the students in a better way. Debates, then feedback. Timely and constructive feedbacks help students understand their progress and areas for improvement. This can be from peers or that can be from the instructors also. So feedback plays an important role. As we have discussed, critically they will think. Active learning encourages student analyze, evaluate, and create rather than just to remember the facts. Then the reflection, how it reflects. Students are given opportunities to reflect on what they have learned and how they have learned it. This can be through journalizing, self assessment, or group reflections. We can see the variety of activities. Some activities use of diverse methods such as discussions, case studies, simulations, role playing, and hands on projects keep students engaged and allows for different learning styles. Student choice. Yes, we have to give the choice to the students also. Offering students some degree of choice in how they demonstrate their understanding or engage with the material can increase motivation and ownership of their learning. So, by incorporating these all elements, educators can create a dynamic and effective learning environment that enhances student engagement and promotes deeper understanding. Implement implementing active learning strategies. When incorporating active learning strategies, concern, consider the learning objectives, the learner's characteristics and needs, and the available resources. Available resources also plays an active role in it. It's also important to ask what student want to get out of the course rather than any objective need for certification or qualification. The right blend of active learning strategies can enhance the learning experience making it more engaging, meaningful, and effective. Why we are doing all these things in active learning? So that more and more engagement will be there, and it will be meaningful, and it will be an effective one. Before implementing points to be kept in mind, what are the points we have to kept in mind in the active learning? Student objectives, it plays an important role. What would each student like to get out of the class in terms of educational purpose and enhancement of their working or home life? Student characteristics, what proficiency and understanding level are your students at? If it's a workplace course, what level of seniority do they have? How easily can the effect change? If you have shy students, how can you involve them in activities without undue pressure? We have to involve in our teaching all the students, and all the students are not same. There are very active students, some are slow learners, some are shy children. So we have to keep in mind all these things and get involved all the students in our learning. That is why this all these techniques and methods we teachers have to implement in our teaching to make it more interesting, so that maximum involvement of the child will be there in our teaching learning process. That is why an active learning is needed. So through student needs, what is the practical outcome supposed to be? It could be a qualification, a certificate, or simply a better understanding of a topic. It's also worth asking, going into a class, if anyone has any additional needs, since you may have students with dyslexia and ADHD. Here, ADHD means the children with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. That is the meaning of ADHD. Na? So, what is the meaning of ADHD? Once more, I am repeating, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or other learning challenges. Now, what are the available resources? Do you provide paper and pens, devices, calculators? Do you invite guest speakers? Are there physical challenges and hands on experiences? Do you provide meals? All these ingredients could affect the success of your course. So, understand the active learning. That once again, I am repeating these points, that is student engagement, collaborative learning, application of knowledge, set clear learning objectives. The, we have to have what should students know or able to do by the end of the lesson. How will the activities help them to achieve their goals? This is very important. Incorporate varied activities. Then think pair. Some things, the different ways which we can implement in our class. That those are like think, pair, and share, peer teaching, case studies, problem based learning, interactive lectures, use technology, no, like this, discussion boards, collaborative tools, platforms like Google Docs, Padlet for group work and brainstorming. Now, design effective group work. This is also one method which we can implement in our class. Like group activities can enhance learning if well structured. Diverse groups mix students with different skills and backgrounds. This is also very important. We can implement in our class. We can mix up the students with different skills and backgrounds. Then clear roles. Assign specific roles to ensure active participation. Then guidelines, we have to provide clear instructions and objectives for the group work, encourage critical thinking, then open-ended questions and debates, as we have discussed. Then we have to create a supportive environment that is very important for the children. Teachers should always foster an environment where students feel comfortable in participating. When we will make the students comfortable, then only then active participation from the student side will come. So we have to keep in mind all these things. So by incorporating these strategies, you can create a dynamic and engaging learning environment that encourages active participation and deeper understanding. So, active learning implementation cycle. How we implement in our, we have to implement in the class and make the class active. So one cycle here, see, choose an active learning technique that aligns with course aims. Then consider the logistics of implementation, time, space, material constraints. Then prepare students by explaining active learning techniques, explicitly linking to course aims. Then solicit feedback from students and evaluate effectiveness of teachings. So these are some examples as we have discussed. I will just go through, that is think, pair, share. Then Viva Voice. Viva Voice allow learners to apply different questioning strategies. Then case studies, as we have discussed, role plays. Then flipped classroom. We have to flip the classroom. We have to mix up the children. The muddiest point requires learners to reflect on challenging areas, providing invaluable feedback for the educators. Then problem based learning, this is also as we have discussed earlier. Then simulations and gamifications create immersive learning experiences. These methods engage learners in an interactive competitive environment. Then peer teaching reinforces understanding and builds the confidence in knowledge. Peer teaching plays an important role. Then debates and discussions, as we have discussed. Then interactive quizzes and polls, experiential learning. Then brainstorming sessions stimulate creativity and idea generation. Then field trip, of course. When we will take the children to the field trip, that makes the topic more interesting. The children will enjoy a lot. Like field trips and site visits. Field trips and site visits connect learning to real world situations. Now coming to learning circles and communities. Then what are the benefits? We have discussed what all things we have to do in the class, how we have to make the students engaged in our topic. Then what the benefits? What are the benefits? We will just go through opportunities to process course material through thinking, writing, talking, and problem solving gives students multiple avenues for learning. Applying new knowledge helps students encode information. Receiving frequent and immediate feedback helps students correct. These are the benefits we will get. Working on activities helps create personal connection, regular interaction with the instructor and peers around. Instructors may gain more insight. Then enhanced understanding, improved critical thinking, increased retention, greater engagement. We can see in a picture the inactive learning strategies often make lessons more interactive and enjoyable, which can increase student motivation and participation. Then better problem solving abilities. Active learning often involves collaborative work which helps students develop problem solving. Immediate feedback, as we have discussed, then enhanced communication skills, encouragement of lifelong learning, adaptability and flexibility, then making time for active learning. Using active learning strategies does not require abandoning the lecture format, rather, adding small active learning strategies that can make lecturing more effective for students' learning. Advanced organization, we can see advanced organizing 10 to 12-minute lecture. In this process, if we will do, it will be okay. Then 3 to 4 minutes activity, then 10 to 12 minutes lecture again, then 3 to 4 minutes activity, then 10 to 12 minutes lecture, then 5 to 6 minutes the summary of the topic. So let's see this table, a cone, a pyramid has been made. We can see 10%. First of all, we will see the reading, hearing. For reading, that is 10% of what we read. These all things in a passive reading, it is going on. In reading, 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, then 30% of what we see, looking at pictures. Then watching a movie, videotape, looking at an exhibit, watching a demonstration, seeing it done on location. That is 50% of what we see and hear. These all scenarios goes on in a passive learning. So coming to the active learning pyramid, the cone of learning. See the cone of learning, it has been explained in a very good way. Now the active learning, see what happens. 70% of what we say, that is participating in a discussion and giving a talk. Then 90% of what we say and do, that is doing a dramatic presentation, simulation the real experiences, and doing the real things. So these are all the important points which we have to keep in mind in our teaching learning process when we make our teaching learning effective. Through active learning what happens, and in a passive learning what happens too. We have to make our children mostly make them involved in our topic. Through topics we can do our work in a better way and get it involved to the students. So thank you teachers. Now we will come to our chat box. I hope the topic was interesting. I have given the appropriate information to how you make our teaching learning process more interesting and make it more collaborative one and interactive one. Let's come to the chat box. Please, I want some few discussions. Please write over in a chat box. How the means how you make the teaching learning process in your class interesting. Please, if you will share anything through the chat box. I hope the session was informative and interactive. So now it's the duty of our, we the teachers, we have to make the session, we have to make these through the session whatever we have. Yes, so whatever topics we have to make more interesting, to make interactive, to make our children involvement, we teachers have to take the initiative. Through this only we can make our teaching learning process more effective and maximum participation of the children in a class. The session, whatever with the topic we take in the class, we have to make it more interesting so that maximum participation of the children will be there, and we can make the topic more connectivity, more collaborative, more interesting. I hope through this session we will. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, teachers. We will make our teaching learning process more effective in the class and make our teaching learning process more smooth. If our teaching learning process is smooth, interactive, and if you will give the chance to the children also to speak out in a friendly way, we have to give them, we have to listen to them in a patient way so that we can give more what we want for the topics, what we want to teach them. It will be in a better and a easiest way. I hope you all will implement all these things in your class to make our teaching learning process more interesting and effective, and the student will be beneficial for this. Thank you so much for all listening me patiently. I hope that our active passive both was active. Our session was also active, and you all participants, all teachers, thank you for making the session active. You were also very actively responding me. Thank you so much. If any more points, if you can want to discuss in a chat box, you can write over there. Any more things what you implement in a class for making teaching learning more effective? Anything more you do in your class, you can share in a chat box. Audio visual, yes ma'am, we do. I hope we have touched all the maximum points what we can do in our class. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all teachers for listening me patiently. Thank you, namaskar. Once again, a good evening to all. Thank you. Thank you so much.